Hey everybody, and welcome to the Atypical Life YouTube channel. I am here today with the wonderful Ian McNeice.
Hello.
Very warm welcome to you here, being in things from Valkyrie to Doc Martin to, of course, Doctor Who. I feel like we have an awful lot to talk about today. I really do. But to begin with, I'd love for you to tell me just a little bit about how you actually started in this industry that is acting, you know, this mad industry. How did that begin for you?
Well, it's interesting because, I was at school, Taunton, Somerset. It was a public school. I was one of those kids that was sent away to school. And there was this drama school, the drama club that I got involved with. And I was hopeless at examinations, but I sort of shone in the drama club. And so that's where it all began. And I used to go and see plays at the Bristol Old Vic while I went to Taunton in Somerset. I went to Bristol Old Vic and saw plays at the theatre there, and I just fell in love with it. So really that's how it all began. And then when I left school, I tried to get a job in regional theatre. I ended up in the Salisbury Playhouse for 2 years, acting ASM, sweeping the stage, making the tea, and just couldn't get enough of it. I loved it, playing little parts as well. And then I went to drama school. I went to LAMDA, London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. And from there, I started regional theatre, and then RSC for 4 years, and then television, and then on to movies. So it was a classic rise, really, from day one. It was a real, I knew from a very early age what I wanted to do. My father was not so keen on me doing theatre, so he sent me to a vocational guidance organization that you filled out these little forms, and it told you what they thought you'd be good at. And I ended up being either a journalist or an estate agent. And my father said, "Oh, being a stage agent because you can play golf on Thursday afternoons." How on earth he knew estate agents played golf on Thursday afternoons? But it didn't happen. So, it's me. Here I am. So at 70, still going strong, for goodness sake. So it's
fantastic.
It's been an extraordinary, lucky thing to do, really, because I really couldn't have done anything else. That was it.
Can I ask then? I suppose that your IMDb says you started in '77 with your first on-camera work, but when did that acting career begin for you? Around what year? Around what year was that, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, I joined the Salisbury Playhouse in '69.
Right.
So that's when I actually started doing theatre, and then I ended up doing Nicholas Nickleby on Broadway, which was an extraordinary show that lasted 9 hours. And we went to Broadway with that. So it wasn't until after that, about '71, that I started doing television. And quite early on, I did a TV show called Edge of Darkness, which took off. It was a fantastic show that won a lot of BAFTAs, and it was the first TV I'd virtually done, as it was with Bob Peck, who then got a BAFTA award for the show, and it became this cult. It's still a cult show today.
Yes, I've heard of it, actually.
People come up and say, "Oh my God, you're Harcourt from Edge of Darkness." So they still talk about it now. So that was the first really sort of TV thing that helped me get further along. It was a great show.
Fantastic. And I only want to do this brief tangent because obviously, as I told you earlier, I was speaking with Sam Fisher-Becker, and he felt there was, especially getting into the industry, there's a stigma of go and get a real job. There's the stigma of it's very easy to be turned away from acting.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who are starting in this industry at all?
Well, I would say, I'm asked quite a lot of it, but when I go to conventions, people come up and say, "Look, what would you advise?" Or parents ask me about their kids who want to do drama. I said, "Look, I would say one thing: go to drama school. Because that's such a good grounding. It gives you 3 years I spent in LAMDA were some of the best 3 years I've ever had, and it gave me such a good grounding on how to do theatre and how to get involved in real acting, in terms of what acting is about and the truth and all the rest of it, and finding the method of acting and stuff like that." So drama school, it always cracks me up, these people. I spent 10 years in LA and Los Angeles, and just hearing the stories about people who get off Greyhound buses in LA, and they think they're going to be the next Brad Pitt, and they have no training whatsoever. And occasionally they get lucky and they can do the odd bit of TV or film here and there. But I mean, no one has any training, and it really is a travesty. I think, and there are so many people who waiting tables and waiters and all the rest of it who are just hoping for a big break, and they just need, training. And there's nowhere in LA. There's not even a school. There's not even a drama school to help these
My
guys do it.
days.
Like, it's crazy. New York is the place to go. There's Juilliard's
Yeah.
and places like that. But I mean, there's nothing in LA.
Mm.
And they have these rip-off merchants called coaches. These
Yes.
drama coaches who to teach them how to do, acting auditions and stuff like that, and charge a fortune. And they have about 20, 30 people in a class, and you're very lucky to get up and do a little bit of work. It's crazy stuff. So that's what I would say. Drama school. Go to drama school. The other thing is, you've got to look on acting as a vocation.
Yes.
You cannot look on it as anything else, because unless you are committed to it, unless you are passionate about it, you've got no hope, because you're going to get so many rejections, and you've just got to really want to do it. You've got to really want to do it. You can't think of anything else, and you must really want it, because that's the only thing that will get you through it, really.
And that foundation that you mentioned of you sweeping up, making the teas and that sort of thing, I imagine you'd recommend that to people who are starting out as well, right?
Absolutely. If they can get into a regional theatre, as I did, and act as an acting ASM, an assistant stage manager, where you're on the book, you're going helping with their lines, you prompt them, you prompt the actors, and then you do little set work. You can do props or something, or you can do sound or stuff like that, or just to back up the technician side of theatre, but watching everybody acting at the same time. That's a great grounding. So I was lucky to have them both.
Oh, absolutely. And being in the industry, if you don't mind my saying, for quite a few years. So as you said, you started off in the 70s, obviously. I'd love to know what you find to be quite different about either television, theatre, film now as compared to when you started. Is there any noticeable differences? Do you feel it better, worse, etc.?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the thing is I mean, things are so much better now. There's so much variation, and there's so much, and of course, there are so many platforms now that you can get involved with, streaming and stuff like that, and you're not just relying on ITV or BBC or stuff like that. You all these other endless things that you can involve. As I said, there's a much more varied opportunity for actors to work in all sorts of mediums now than there were in my day, when there was just just television in its form that you knew it as, and then theatre. So yeah, I mean, it's much more varied now, and yeah, that's what I would say that.
I think definitely the amount of platforms is fantastic. Even talking about things like Netflix, or even being able to put things up online just on its own. I'm hoping
shows that you can watch on YouTube as opposed to anything else. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's endless. And also, you have the opportunity now to make really good show reels.
Yes.
Couldn't do in my early days, which is doing little snippets of you can take them from the TV shows that you've done, or film, doing little sort of excerpts and put them on a show reel, so your agents have a chance to show that to casting agents or producers. So there's that now, which is such a good boom.
Oh, absolutely. With myself, I have like a background in media production. So when I've been in education, the very first thing they drill in you is get a good show reel. Anything you do, archive, anything you do, get the copy. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it really is in fact, I was very fortunate. When I was in America, I actually found a very good person who made a terrific show reel for me out of my work, and I brought it back to England. And my agents then, unbeknownst to me, but they would show it. They'd show my show reel to younger actors to say, this is what you should go for. This is the sort of show reel that you want to make. So I found out that later, which I was really touched by, that they'd done that.
That is wonderful to Yeah, actually hearing about this, I'm very interested in your time in America. Can I ask, when was that, and what kind of shows did you do whilst you were out there?
I was out. I was out there in about trying to think. 95. I went out to make a movie. I went out to make the Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls,
Yes.
Jim Carrey, and that was about 95. And because I'd split with my, I wasn't married, but I split with my lady
Your partner
partner
at the
at the
time,
time.
right?
And so it gave me an opportunity to stay there. So I then stayed. I had a friend of mine called Christopher Munger who lived in
Mm.
LA, and he directed me in a movie called The Englishman Who Went Uphill and Came Down a Mountain, which he wrote and directed, which is a terrific Welsh movie that we did together with Grant. And that so he was out there. So I had a good friend of mine who lived in LA, and so I stayed for 10 years really. And during that period, I did quite a lot of work there, but also I did an awful lot of, what was funny is that you would go up for interviews for miniseries that were being done in Europe at the time, because in Europe became the sort of Hollywood of that land. And it started
Yeah.
with Hungary, then it moved to Prague, then it moved to Bulgaria, and it's extraordinary. You know, you do stuff in one country, then you finally go to another, then to another. So they all undercut each other, and eventually went back to Hungary again after it had gone around the circuit. But it's like, so I would go up for miniseries that were being done in Europe, in Los Angeles, and then get them, and then they say, "Oh, would you mind if we took you from England to save you getting a plane fare?"
Wow.
So you'd have to find, they'd fly me from London, but they wouldn't fly me from LA, which was
Wow.
a joke. But I did lots of stuff like, you know, sort of Spartacus. I did
Mm.
Dune. I did all sorts of things like that. Lots of miniseries that I did in Europe that was started in LA. I did a movie called Life Less Ordinary, which we did in Utah with Danny Boyle.
Yes.
He directed that, Life Less Ordinary, with Cameron Diaz
Yes.
and Holly Hunter
Mm.
and Ewan McGregor. That was a terrific movie. And I did a wonderful movie for Paramount, going through the wonderful gate at Paramount, called The Beautician and the Beast, with Fran Drescher.
Wow.
Terrific movie, very, very funny. So we did lots of stuff like that, and some odd TV bits in here and there. So yeah, so quite a collection of things while I was out there.
Oh, absolutely. And then I'm just gonna put a timeline together here. You have come back in the early 2000s, is that right? Or would it have been a bit before that?
I came back about 2004. I then got a job. I then got a job as a one-off job. I thought, well, you know, this
Mm.
is a nice little gig. You know, I'll go down to Cornwall and I'll
Ah.
do the little show. You know, for a 8-episode show, it'd be fun to do, playing this plumber called Bert Large. And good God, 14 years later, I'm still playing the same character after, you know, next year we start doing the 10th series. It's unbelievable. So that started around about 2004. That's when I started to come back to England.
Right.
That show, I was doing more and more work here.
I was gonna say, when I mentioned to my family that I was interviewing
Oh,
Ian
don't tell me
McNeice,
it's your
yeah.
grandmother or your mother.
Oh no, just like
That's
my,
what I
my, my
get all the time.
siblings, you know.
I get this really pretty good. It used to crack me up at conventions because this, you know, these really pretty girls would come up and say, "Oh, can I have a selfie with you?" I said, "Great." And can I have a photograph? I said, "What would you like that one?" "What's your name?" "Oh, no. It's for my grandmother." What can it be for you, for God's sake?
I
It
know.
was always the Bert Large photographs were always
Yeah.
for the grandmother or the mother. Yeah. What were you going to say about your
I was gonna
family?
say my whole family was saying we love Doc Martin.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, I can remember very briefly you were in Valkyrie. Obviously, you're in Doctor Who. My YouTube channel is mainly about Doctor Who, but I could briefly ask you about the experience of Valkyrie, if that's okay, making a movie like that.
It was amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, I actually went in to meet the director and the writer, Brian Singer.
Yes.
In a hotel in the West End, and he had his writer in there too, and they were both in there. And so I sat down and we had a little chat. I said, well, actually, the thing is this: is that there's another actor outside who I work with. He's waiting to come in too, and we both worked on a show called Conspiracy. I said, which is a sort of the movie about the Wannsee Conference in which we played Nazis. In fact, we come with our own costumes, so you know, you can have it like that. And the writer said, "I've got it on my laptop." And Brian Singer said, "I've seen it 6 times." And they said, "And we want you to play this role." I said, "Well, don't give it to anybody else because I'm doing it. I'm yours." So that was a nice little interview to do, really, to get that. And then, of course, there was the day I turned up on the set and met Tom Cruise for the first time. And there he is. And you have all this sort of history about people saying, "Oh, don't look at him in the eyes. He hates being looked in the eyes," and all the rest of it. It's all rubbish. He came up to me and he has this thing that you have that I'd imagine presidents have, which is this extraordinary charisma where he just looks at you straight in the eyes and he focuses on you for that moment in time. And he really sort of stays with you. He doesn't look at anybody else. He looks at you in the eyes and discusses what he's discussing. In my case, he was saying, "I loved you in this, I loved you in that." Now, whether he'd seen anything, didn't matter. He'd obviously got all his assistants to say, "Oh, you're going to meet Ian McNeice today, so he was in this, this, and this. So if you want to mention that, so fine, But he stays with you for that length of time. And it's almost like he's defying anybody else to come up and he's saying, "Leave me alone while I stay with this person here." And then he moved on. And it was the most extraordinary moment because you realize that it's quite a gift there. It's and it must be a presidential gift. Which people in power of so much power have that moment where they lock you, they stay with you for that length of time.
Yeah, people say that about like meeting the Pope and stuff like that as well. It feels like it's undivided,
And he had that, and he was really good to work with. I mean, he was very good to work. I mean, the thing about it is that they all have this. He has his way of doing things. He has this huge power on set that really. So everybody's gathered together, and you rehearse, then you go away while they do the lighting, then you come back to do the shoot. And as you come back, he requires everybody to be in place before he comes back in. So he's the last one to appear on the set, right? That you can hear all the people with walkie-talkies saying, "He's left his trailer, he's coming down, he's going down the hall. Yeah, he's going to be entering the set any minute now." You can hear all this going on in that. And there was this one day where this panic went on, where they couldn't find Tom Wilkinson. And they were just about to shoot, and they got him coming in. So there was Tom Cruise coming in, and Tom Wilkinson couldn't be found. Eventually, Cruise arrives on set. He hasn't got Tom, so they have to wait until Tom comes in. And Tom comes in at that point. Cruise. Normally, it's left up to the assistant director, the first assistant director, to say, "Turn over." But at this point, as Tom came into the room, Cruise said, "Turn over." And it was such a chilling moment that it was almost like saying, "Don't fuck with me. Don't get me here. Don't get me here. Don't let me wait for anybody." It was such a sort of chilling little moment, I have to say. So, that's the power of the guy.
Fascinating. Would you put him up there, because you've mentioned that you worked with a number of great actors there, like Ewan McGregor, you said, Cameron Diaz, etc. Would you put him up there with the actors you have worked with personally?
I've been so lucky. I mean, over the years, to have worked with, people like him. I did 84 Charing Cross with Anthony Hopkins, White Noise, Michael Keaton,
Wow.
Johnny Depp I worked with on
Mm.
From Hell. I mean, I just worked with a lot of people. Colin Firth I did Velma with. I mean, you know, a lot of good actors, and he's certainly top. He's Sean Connery
Wow.
oh goodness me, that was a movie, The Russia House. That's right. So
Yes.
a lot of these movies, a lot of these actors, it's been a real sort of privilege to work with these guys over the years, and
Mm.
Cruise is certainly up there.
Wow.
Ron
Wonderful. Yeah.
Beatty, Ron Beatty,
Mm.
I work with on
Mm.
A Town and Country with yeah. So you know,
Mm. I've got to say,
very fortunate to work with
mm.
all these guys. And terrific directors, Milos Forman, of course,
Mm.
and people, Danny Boyle, who I rate hugely.
Of course, one of the best to come from here, I'd say.
Yeah. And Peter Chelson was terrific as well on
Mm.
Funny Bones and Town and Country. He's a great
Mm.
little English director who lives in America now. Anyway, that's a lot of
Mm.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Great stuff. I'm very glad I asked about that. I wasn't expecting as much about Tom Cruise. I know that he's a very enigmatic person, so it's very interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't bring up probably the show you're asked about the most, Doctor Who, right?
Sure.
So to put it into context, probably the era that you're a part of is probably my personal favorite era of Doctor Who. So 2010, 2011, it's probably my favorite time to be a fan.
Because of the Doctor that was on at that point, or what?
Yes, I would say so. Also, it was sort of the age I was at. But everyone says when you're a certain age,
Yeah.
that's the bit that hooks you. And Matt Smith came along when I just turned 11 or 12, and I just remember it very vividly. You, of course, were in a Dalek story playing Winston Churchill to begin with.
Unbelievable. No,
Yeah.
unbelievable. I mean, that was the cream on top of the.
Mm.
That was the cherry on the cream. I mean, to actually be in a Doctor Who show, but to be with Dalek was just the best thing, really. I was doing a theatre show at the time. I was doing a theatre show, the National Theatre. I was playing Winston Churchill in a show about Harold Macmillan. Jeremy Irons was playing Harold Macmillan, and I was playing Winston Churchill. It was at the Little Room Theatre
Wow.
at the National, and who should come along to it but the casting director and one of the producers from Doctor Who, because they were looking for a Winston Churchill for their show, and that's really how I got the gig. I mean, I got it because they came to see the show, and so to turn up and then get this offer of actually, and and at that point to actually get an offer to do a Doctor Who, I mean, they had the world and their wife to choose from. I mean,
Yeah.
they'd been having such terrific, because of the resurgence of Doctor Who, and because of the money they were throwing at it, they had they had the gamut of actors. They could choose anybody they want. So to get an offer to play something as pivotal and as impressive as Winston on a show like that was great. So I was very fortunate to have got the role to begin with, and then also fortunate to work with those two guys. I mean, both both him and her were just superb, because
Absolutely.
for him,
Yeah.
it was I think it was only the second one they'd done, and so they were still finding their feet.
Mm.
He was still, being incredibly inventive and trying to find new ways of playing stuff, and was just very exciting to watch on stage, as she was too.
Mm.
And her legs do go all the way up. They really do. She's quite stunning. She's an absolute stunner. She really
And of course,
is.
she's gone on to do great things afterwards
They
as well.
both
She's
have.
in Marvel now. Yeah.
I mean, I thought his performance in The Crown was
Yes.
one of the best things he's ever done. I thought he was brilliant. I think it was absolutely brilliant as that. I thought that was a wonderful performance.
Oh yes, absolutely. And he's going to be in a movie called Morbius coming out soon under the Sony banner. So yes, he's going to be a villain in that apparently.
What's that under?
They're under Sony Pictures, so it's going to be one of the superhero movies.
Oh, a superhero movie. Okay.
He's going to be doing that soon. So with all of that, I have to. Well, not even ask. I'd just love to hear what you thought about the story you were given, the idea of Daleks in World War II, because
I just thought it was brilliant. I mean, I just thought it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant to actually bring in the Daleks. I mean, the Daleks are such a, I mean, anybody who loves Doctor Who loves the Daleks. I mean, how can you not? And that you just had Winston working on them as his Ironsides.
Yeah.
Believes it's going to win the war with these creatures is extraordinary. And so I think that was a terrific. I think it was a terrific bend towards the storyline. I mean, I always remember hearing about the people how the Daleks work, because it was such a Heath Robinson way of doing it, where they actually, even though the heads were conducted with a sort of like a model function, but where they had little sort of handsets to actually turn the heads, they still had to work their feet on the floor with these Daleks. I mean, it's going back years and years and years. The same thing from day one. I always loved the idea. It was a myth that really that basically that if they wanted to go to the toilet, that they just had to flash their lights in a certain way. And if somebody ignored them, then you just see a little puddle underneath. Love that. I just love that idea. But I'm sure it happened.
Oh my days.
There was a wonderful moment where I always remember this had happened on the set where he attacked the Dalek. The Garlic Dalek. Yeah, yes, he attacked. They had this wrench that
yes,
he used, and there were two wrenches. There was the correct proper wrench, and there was a rubber wrench.
Yeah.
And I always remember this moment where he went for hell for leather for hitting this Dalek on the head with the wrench, and apparently at this point he got the wrong wrench.
Oh.
He should have been using the rubber one, but he was using the metal one. And suddenly you hear from underneath this Dalek little head going, "That's the wrong time." As they were seeing stars inside, I think, from the noise of this metal wrench being slammed down on top of them. So that was the.
Oh my days. Yeah, I was just going to say on a personal note, like I couldn't appreciate it when I was a kid, obviously, but the idea of Churchill as a character doing anything possible to win the war. He even says during the episode, if Hitler invaded hell, I would give a favorable reference to the devil or something like that. I think
that's an incredible line, which I never really understood. I was trying to say, can you just explain what that line means? So, no, it was a terrific experience, and I have to say, I mean, what it led for me. I mean, I wasn't aware what it would do for me, but it wasn't until later that really the world opened up for me. I was then invited to go to all these Doctor Who conventions, and they went. I mean, I've been everywhere. I've been to Australia, New Zealand, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Orlando, all to these Doctor Who conventions where they treat you like gods. It's incredible. Yes. You get flown out there, you get put it up in a hotel, you sign these autographs, they give you a fee. I mean, it's incredible. Not only that, but there was a Doctor Who cruise. I ended up on a cruise going to the Caribbean on this boat that took 3,000 people. 90 or 100 of those were Doctor Who fans. But they said, I always remember them saying, no, look, all you have to do is to have dinner with them in the evening and chat to them about, you go around all the tables eventually during the cruise and you chat to them and answer their questions about Doctor Who and about, that's all you have to do. You've got the rest of your day free, but in the morning, if they come up to you and say, hello, could you just say, I said, no. The evenings are fine, but my day is, no. I said, of course I'll say hello, for God's sake. But that was the joy. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, that's hysterical, isn't it? Doctor Who cruise.
Must be so surreal. I suppose, like in your everyday life, I hope I'm not being intelligent. Like in your everyday life, I imagine you can just go to shops, you can go out for a meal, and it's absolutely fine. But in those situations, you are a real Tom Cruise level celebrity for that short period of time, however long it is,
for that length of time, for those conventions, and for those, because people are there specifically to see you and to ask you questions. But yes, I mean, and also, I mean, that's right.
And of course, it opened up the opportunity for you not only to come back in the show. Did you do 2 episodes after that? I believe you did a little bit.
I think three
Yeah,
in the end.
yeah,
Maybe
you
two,
did.
I can't remember. There was that bizarre one where I always remember uh, getting up on the set and I was talking to a man with a green face and a green head. And I thought to myself, you know what, if Winston comes back and is doing this, he can come back at any time.
Exactly.
Let's bring him back, you know. So that was great. That was great.
Well, I always think with this is only a little point to me. In the modern series, at least, when they cast a historical figure, they generally use them every single time. So whoever played Charles Dickens back in 2005, when they had an episode with him in, they used him again about 10 years later. So so I think there's always a chance if they do Churchill again, it will be you, if you don't mind my saying.
God, I mean, I think that's wonderful. No, I'd love to go back. I mean, it was such a joy to do it in the first place. I mean, it was, you know.
Oh, 100%. I'd love to see Churchill interact with the current Doctor, whoever comes next. I think it's always interesting to see the Doctor working with people from history because, you know, he could look at it from either way, the Doctor could, because usually the Doctor likes to have the moral high ground, and meeting characters, not just Churchill, he met Marco Polo, he met all these sorts of characters where maybe morally there are challenges, and I kind of like that. I think that brings out something different in the Doctor.
Well, there was a wonderful experience I had on, because then Big Finish got in touch with me and said, would I do some work for them? And I ended up doing 2 wonderful box sets of Churchill stories. But that was hysterical because at the time, Churchill was voicing all the other Doctors. So he'd be walking through, and so I had to then sort of, you know, and so then I had to say, so-and-so came in, and then I had to do the voice. I always remember the director saying, yes, with Eccleston, can you make it a little bit more this way and all the rest? And I think myself, get the actor in to do it, for Christ's sake. And eventually that's what they did. Having done the box sets, since that time, I've now worked with Sylvester. I've worked with Paul McGann. I've done 2 stories in that time because I think they wanted to try and then get Winston to come in and start working with the other Doctors, which is great. So that's been terrific too, to actually go back and revisit Winston with these other Doctors, which has been fantastic.
I mean, I've heard about this box set. I've never actually seen it. I had no idea it was you voicing the Doctors. Is it done in the sense that it's Churchill doing these voices, if that makes sense? Or is it meant to be you?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes, it's Churchill. It's Churchill because it's they're all Churchill stories. And although there are other actors appearing in them doing those things, for some reason, whenever the Doctor appeared, I would then have to do
right.
And then the Doctor said this or the Doctor said that, but they had other actors to do other roles in them.
Yes.
Lovely. 4 box sets. I had 2 box sets with about 3 or 4 stories in each, which was lovely. Lovely little box sets that my children had for Christmas, and I don't think they've ever opened them. Oh my God! And of course, the other amazing thing is I got. I'll just bring it so I'll show you. Hang on a minute.
Oh, absolutely.
What do we think about that?
That's so funny. I have one of those, not with me, unfortunately. I keep all my figures in other houses, but I actually own that set.
But I mean, can you believe it? Can you believe that there's a action figure of me as Winston Churchill? It's unbelievable. And in this one, there's a Dalek too, so that's fantastic.
Then when you did that, did they tell you? Obviously, they probably would have told you. Did you do a face scan? Did you do a sculpt thing?
Oh my God! I went to a special place in Windsor that deals with not only these dolls, but all sorts of other, dolls to do with musicians and stuff like that. A great doll making house or action figure making house. And they scanned my whole body with something that they use in NASA. It was this most incredible machine where they did a 3D image of me.
Wow. Oh,
really cool.
Yeah, that is
Really
absolutely
cool.
incredible.
That was, I think, you can forget everything else I've ever done, but my kids, once they saw me as an action figure, they went, "Oh my God, what more could anybody want, really now?"
No, that's another thing about the show. This obviously being in it is fantastic, but the merchandise that comes with it as well, because I believe they've used your likeness in comic books and obviously in book stories and stuff like that. So your interpretation of Churchill goes well beyond the TV show, I
Oh
think.
my God, if I told you that actually I've had so many letters from
Mhm.
fans and young fans saying that they now consider me when they do when they when they do history, they consider me his character
Oh,
as the Churchill character that they learn about in their history stories, which is so touching, I have to say.
I know. I can't even how to say I can't fathom myself what it would be like looking at a bit of plastic that looks just like me. I can't imagine any of that really, but
But it's a
um,
good likeness. They
mm,
did such a good likeness with this machine. It's terrific.
I can't. And then, sorry. So we've spoken about Big Finish. We've spoken about being in that first episode. Obviously, you came back again in 2011 for Series 6. Now, I don't know when you would have filmed that, but that was a bit more of a surrealist kind of story. Did you,
Totally.
as an act?
Actually, that was the man with the green face.
Yes. With surrealism of that one, did you find that to be more fun, less fun?
And do you know what I kept? I always remember discussing with the director, and he very quietly said, "I don't know what it means either." So that was quite funny. So we both went along not really knowing what the hell we were doing. So that was fine.
Oh wow.
Was that surreal?
Mm. Yeah, as a look, if as a viewer, I couldn't make any sense of it. I can only imagine what it was like for the actors.
Yeah, sure.
Oh my
You
days.
just went with it. You just had to make it work for yourself, really.
Absolutely. And with uh, Doctor Who, I'm not going to say out the way because I could talk about that for days, but I'd love to give you the floor to talk about either your career since Doctor Who, so in the past few years, or upcoming projects. I'd love to hear about things that you have upcoming. Obviously, you talked about Doc Martin coming back again.
Yeah, well, because of COVID, we were meant to do we were we were meant to do this year. So in April of 21, we were meant to go down to Cornwall and do Doc Martin then. So, but that because of COVID, they put it back. So
Mm,
next year we will go and do series 10, which will be the final series of Doc Martin.
right. Ooh.
So that'll be the very end one. And so I think because I certainly think the people who make it have come to the end of the line of trying to, Martin wants to leave on a high. Martin Clunes, who plays the lead character, wants to
Mm,
leave on a high. I think rather than, it still does incredibly well with the viewing
of
figures.
course.
Even with the repeats, it does well. So it's like, I think he still wants to leave it on a high rather than sort of dragging away into something else. So we'll go. Series 10
Yeah.
will be the final one. What it's done for me is it's just, in America, I now have this extraordinary thing on Facebook called the Burt Large Lovers Group. And it's an organization run by this lovely lady called Gloria.
Mm,
And I now have basically 3,000 women who've joined this, who love Burt Large.
mm.
And they are from all walks of life, from all ages, and they congregate on this site to talk about various episodes that they've seen and all the rest of it. And I get on from time to time and give them little stories and that. So that's how, because I think it was the Daily Mail who said, "Well, have you become like a sex symbol for these women?" I said, "Yes, I have." And so
Yeah.
there was a 2-page spread on the Daily Mirror about how McNeice is now at the age of 65 or 70 and now a sex symbol for American ladies. It's bizarre. So there's that, yeah. And as regards other work, I just done this year, because of COVID, it's been very thin on the ground, but I have managed to do a couple of short little scenes here and there in some rather wonderful shows that are coming up. One is Foundation, which is a show that is going to be coming on Apple TV soon. It's a wonderful new sci-fi show, which is before sort of Star Wars. They've thrown so much money at this. It's on Apple coming in September, I think, called Foundation. Asimov, I think. So there's that, in which I play a character. And there's another one I did the other day for a Netflix series. Marvel comic book, The Sandman.
Yes, yes.
I've got a little character in that I played. So nice to be thought of as these new up and coming, young, what I consider young people shows, both The Sandman and Foundation will be those, I think.
The Sandman's Neil Gaiman, isn't it? Is that right?
Say again?
Is The Sandman by Neil Gaiman? Am I right on that?
I think it is, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm only going to ask this very briefly, because obviously during lockdown, a lot of people have turned to audio work. Have Big Finish been in touch with any new ideas recently?
Not at all, because I mean, I heard today that because of lockdown, I think a lot of people have been doing their shows from home.
Yes.
Whether they've done them on Zoom or whether they've done them on phone or whatever. But I think that's amazing that they've managed to continue doing their Big Finish without having to go into the studio. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things about Big Finish, which everybody will be very upset about, is the fact is that when you do go in to do them, there's the most wonderful catering.
Yeah, yes.
So they would have missed that. I think it's become legendary that the Big Finish catering is by this man who's just superb. So that's what everybody says. Oh my God, have you done Big Finish? And they don't talk about the work; they talk about the catering that they have at lunchtime.
Yeah, there's a Big Finish short story where the master gets his own radio show, and it's sort of a fourth wall break because he says, "We have wonderful catering in this studio. We love stories." Stuff of legend, absolutely.
Right.
But yes, before we wind up here today, I would again, do you have any social media you'd like to promote? Anything, websites, anything along those lines?
Just come and join the Large Lovers group on Facebook. That's the
lads.
Come and say hello to you.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, no, do that, please.
Oh, great stuff. I do find that wonderful, I must say. But yes, thank you so much, Ian, for joining me today. This has been wonderful, very informative. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all very soon, guys.